Hello everyone. Hey Ned, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm gonna be honest. I'm tired. I just
I feel
noticed
that.
your your little name banner says virtualized 6.wtf. Is that new?
No, so it's I've had that for a while actually. So last year, when we were all doing the domain thing with Blue Sky,
Mm.
I was like, you know what? Let me see what domains were around. And someone, I think it was Maddie Stratton, who was like, "Hey, I'm using .wtf as the domain, as the TLD." And I'm like, you know what? Let's see if mine is available. Mine was, and and lo and behold, here we are with the WTF. Honestly, I don't really post much WTF stuff on my account. I just thought it was funny and just wanted to add a little bit of a troll element to my lifestyle, if you will.
No, that's great. I think my favorite is Kyler Middleton has one. It's like Kyler Middleton.lol or
Oh
something.
yeah,
And I was
I
like,
think
that's
I see
great.
that. I see
.lol.
that.
I just went with .com. How boring am I?
You can always change it. There's probably plenty of net in the cloud dot anything you want available.
Yeah, I feel like I did maybe scoop up a couple of those, but I already have like 30 some odd domains that I'm paying for, and I don't need more.
I feel that. I've got maybe 3 that I'm managing right now, and I don't even know what to do with them. Like I just have them for the sake of like one day someone's like, "Hey, I want to pay you, $20 million for your domain," and I don't think that'll ever happen. But
It
it was a
seems,
bit of a thing.
yeah, it's increasingly unlikely that someone will pay that kind of money for a domain just because of the number of TLDs that exist now. Like, I would just pick something else if the one I wanted it wasn't available, unless I
Yeah.
had like Bezos money, in which case I'd, buy whatever I want.
Wasn't there someone, a company that decided that their strategy for their seed investment would be to buy a domain for like X million dollars? I can't remember. This happened sometime last year,
Hmm.
and I was kind of shocked. They're like, "Yeah, this is our marketing strategy. We're gonna buy this domain for this amount of money, and not have much else." Hello, Kat. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming by. Domains and shoes cost about the same, and both are an addiction. I can't. Hey, you know what? I totally feel that.
The thing about domains is you have to keep paying for them afterwards, but shoes, that's like a one-time fee. Like, so I would favor shoes over domains. Although I wear out shoes, like running shoes, I wear out running shoes relatively quickly, so that's a recurring cost.
So technically, it's a subscription. You're subscribing to making sure that your feet actually don't touch the ground, and it's something in
Ooh,
between.
business idea there, subscription shoes. Yeah,
um,
I think I go through a pair of running shoes about every 6 to 9 months, depending on the mileage that I'm putting in.
I buy one pair of Converse shoes, and that lasts me a year before they start to get worn out because I just wear them a lot. Cat's like, "Oh, Dad, silly take." I love that. Cat, I hope
guess
you're doing well.
shoes are an addiction subscription.
On the note of subscriptions, I don't know if you've watched any of the new Black Mirror shows or episodes, I should say. Have you ever watched Black Mirror, by the way?
I haven't. I'm aware of it as a thing, but I haven't really followed along.
You need to tell me. Yeah, I should be totally down for that. For every single talk she does, she'll have a brand new set. Yeah, so not to spoil it, but one of the more recent episodes in the latest season was about subscriptions, and I was kind of like shocked, like how some of what we do today, some of what we subscribe to today, aligns with that episode a lot. I won't spoil it for you. I think you should go check it out. In fact, I think you should check out all episodes, only because it's such a bit of a I don't want to use a swear word here, but it's a mind F, if you will. And is really telling of like where we are going with technology at times, especially when it comes to things like AI and subscription model. and whatnot. But anyways, hello, Izzy. Welcome. Black Mirror will make you see things in a totally different perspective. I totally agree with you, man. It's an interesting show to watch. Sorry, go ahead.
That's one of those things where there's so many seasons of Black Mirror now. I feel overwhelmed at the prospect of taking it on. It's just like it's like looking at a mountain being like, am I going to climb that thing? Because it's real big, and I'm sure it would be worth it to get to the top. But I don't know if I have the energy for that now. It's real easy to just go watch another episode of like, I don't know, Parks and Rec or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something that I've seen a million times and then not pay attention at all.
You make me want to go back and watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Rest in peace, Andre Bauer. Hope you're doing all right up there. So I wanted to chat with you about the new course that you're making. I was scraping LinkedIn the other day and I'm like, ooh, what is this computer architecture course? Tell us about it.
Yeah, man. Anybody who's been on Pluralsight a bit knows that I make courses for like HashiCorp stuff. So I have a ton of Terraform involved content and also a couple pretty popular courses on Azure and AWS. But the opportunity came along. They're doing a new Foundations of Computing course. And one of the available courses was computer architecture. And I was like, I know a thing or two about computer architecture from my, I won't even say my computer science days. Before I got my bachelor's degree, I actually got an associate's degree that was in computing technology. And that's what actually taught me about like assembly language and all the like little bits and bobs that are inside a computer. I remember learning about like cylinders and sectors and all that kind of stuff with hard drives. And that's when that was actually important to know. It's like how many sectors and cylinders were in your hard drive. But yeah, I know a thing about that. And so I thought, yeah, I could probably do a decent computer architecture course. And so I did. It's still in process. I'm hoping to have it wrapped in about 2 weeks. But it just starts with the fundamentals of, you know, what's in a CPU? How does the CPU actually do things? And then what other things does it need to interact with? And then extending beyond that a little bit. And then we dig into a little bit of strategies for improving performance at the hardware level, like pipelining, instructions, multi-core, and how to deal with branch conflicts and branch guessing. And yeah, it doesn't go super deep on those topics because then it would be like a 30-hour course and it's meant to be like a 1-hour intro thing. But I've had a lot of fun doing it and digging back into topics that I haven't thought about in 25 years.
I almost feel like if anyone is hopping into the world of cloud, right? Especially if they've skipped over the whole space of hardware, they absolutely probably need your course. And it's only because like if you haven't set up an environment, a network, put together a data center, if you will, and then like done things like RAID and understand why we do RAID, you're missing out on a lot, right? Especially in the cloud. A lot of that's abstracted from us, and we don't get to see it as much anymore. I was having a conversation with some folks at KubeCon about this as well, and how a lot of careers don't even like emphasize some of the basics as well. It's just like go in, touch the AWS console, and you're on your way. So I'm looking forward to your course.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it being done.
No pressure.
No, I don't necessarily like making courses. I like having made courses. I can paraphrase somebody else.
It does take a bit. I know.
Yeah, but they're fun to do, and it's a process of discovery as well. Because if you want to teach something, then you need to know it really well. And the best way to find out how little you know about a topic is try to explain it to somebody else. And you're like, oh, I thought I knew how the fetch, decode, and execute cycle works, but did I really dig into that? And the more you dig into it, you're like, CPUs are miracles, man. Like the fact that we made sand think is just freaking wild. And I love getting down to I dug all the way down into how do you actually construct a logic gate out of transistors? Like, how does that actually work? That's not in the course. Like, I don't go that deep because, my God, like I said, that would be 30 hours. But for my own personal edification, I was like, how do you do that? Like, if I want to make a NOT gate, how do I do that with a transistor? And the answer is actually, it's pretty simple to do. But just knowing that information and knowing that that's what's sitting under all these layers of silicon wafers is these etchings that build out these logic gates. It's just, I don't know. It gives you a whole new appreciation for what's going on inside of a microprocessor.
I agree. Near my place, there's the public library, and right beside it, there's actually this. I forgot the name of this place. It's like programming for everyone, and what they do is they actually have these programming kits where you get, a bunch of wafer boards and a bunch of like transistors, resistors, cables, wires, whatever, soldering kits as well. And you're basically like programming a logic board yourself, but obviously in a guided sense. So it's available to all. And it's kind of nice to like think, hey, maybe I can go back and mess around with that stuff all over again. I did this stuff like maybe, I don't want to age myself, but almost 20 years ago. Anyways, what are we doing today, Ned? We've got we actually have to go back and touch our transcribe app, because we got into a little bit of shiny object syndrome in the last few streams, right? Talking about MCP and what it's there to do.
Yeah, we did go down a bit of a rabbit hole in MCP, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, is there a place for an MCP server in our little app that we're building? And the more I thought about it, I was like, not really. This is not, you wouldn't make use necessarily of an MCP server on the app that we're building. But that did lead me to think of, I could create an MCP server that helps you transcribe files. That's a thing that you could snap into an LLM, because LLMs natively don't have a way to transcribe audio. You could write an MCP server that does tie into something and goes and does the transcription and returns that back. And that's one of the tools that it offers. That might be a much longer episode, and I probably would need to do some research ahead of time to build that out. But that kind of got me thinking of, okay, yeah, that's an actual use case where I might, if I wanted to ask Claude or something else, transcribe this thing, it doesn't know how to do that natively. But if I give it an MCP server, then yeah, it would recognize the keywords of what I'm asking for, and it maps those keywords to that particular MCP server and sends it off to go do the transcription.
It's interesting. So let me ask you, did you check in your code last time we actually were on the terminal? Not last week. I think we did this maybe a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I believe I have. I don't see any unsynced commits on my side, so I think we're up to date on the repository.
All right, let's go then. Let's go. Let's see what we can. Let's see where we left off. I actually have to go back because I have not looked at the repo myself, to be quite honest.
Okay. I'm going to share out my screen.
I will let you drive today.
I just got to pick the right screen first. Nope, that's not it. There we go. All right. So this is the repository that we were working on. And so far, I think the main thing that we'd done was we now had two functions instead of one to do the transcription / analysis. So we had one function that was purely for doing the transcription, and then we had a separate function that would be triggered when the transcription was done, and it would take that and run it through the LLM to do a summary of the transcription. So that's like these two functions here, the transcribe and the lambda. It's just called lambda function. I should probably rename that at some point. The transcribe is the one that actually does the transcription. And I think we did that based off when a file is uploaded to S3.
Right, exactly. That's the S3 trigger right there.
Right. So That's all built out in. Oh, let me hide the terminal because we don't really need that right now. Where did we set all that up? Is that in main? There's all the policies. This is the Lambda function. Notification. That takes the bucket. So that's the one that's looking at S3, and that's the trigger for it. So maybe I need to get the console up.
Yeah, let's pull up the console too. I just have to log in, and I need to find my MFA app. Here we go.
I think you gave me a login too. If I can.
I did. And if you're having trouble getting in, let me know. I can definitely fix that for you.
I have to find the one that you gave
me. I might have slacked it to you at some point. Let's see. I gotta go back to our messages.
I'm pretty sure I saved the information in. Oh, okay. That's what I was looking for.
Oh, I was gonna send this. Yeah, I accidentally might have. I was almost gonna send this to Kyler because we're all in the same, I think, Slack server, if I'm not mistaken. I'm wondering if your account is still good, though.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't look like I can sign in.
Okay, let me see if I can fix that. Yeah, your password could have expired at some point. Users, net in the cloud. Oh, yeah, no, your password should still be good.
Must have changed it at some point.
And you're using that console, manage console access. Here, I'll reset password.
Okay.
Reset password, copy, and then if you use that same console sign-in link, I just shared a new password with you in Slack. By the way, yeah, the beard is getting long there. I have to do something about it. The thing is, though, I'm scared to do anything to my own beard. When it comes to trimming, I will shave and line it up, but when it comes to trimming, I'm a little worried because sometimes I do mess it up, and I realize, you know what, I'm just gonna take it all off. I've done that maybe 2 or 3 times in the last year alone, and it doesn't take too long to grow again. It just becomes really messy for the first maybe month, and then after that it's just becomes like this. Actually, it doesn't become like this. I actually have to blow dry my beard so that it becomes nice and straight.
Wow, that's too much work. I used to have a beard about the same length when I was in my 20s, and it was too much maintenance. At a certain point, actually, I could tell you, July 2005 is when I shaved my head for the first time and also trimmed down my beard.
Welcome from Brazil.
Hello, Brazil. Awesome. Yeah, and I've had the same haircut and beard cut the last 20 years. I don't know what that says about me. I like something low maintenance. I had so many hairstyles when I was younger. I had dreadlocks for a while. I had long hair.
What?
Oh yeah. I dated hairstylist for a little bit, and she is the one who she originally put my hair in cornrows, and then at a certain point she was like, "Hey, do you want dreads?" And I was like, "Sure, let's do it." So,
let's do it.
You're in your 20s. You're like, whatever. Yeah, let's do it.
That is something.
Yeah, that was quite a commitment. Anyway, okay. So cool. So we have 2 Lambda functions. This one is the S3 notification handler. So when we put something in the S3 bucket, it takes it and it calls the transcribe file function, which hands it off to Amazon Transcribe. And yeah, just waits until the transcribe job is complete. So that's the one function. And then the transcribe processor, this one waits for an event from the event bus and waits to see if the transcription job completed. And when it completes, then it takes the transcription and sends it off to Bedrock. And with this prompt, you are a transcript analysis. Please summarize this transcript with key details. And we could expand on the prompt, but that was like a good first run. And when it's done with the transcript, it prints out the results and then also uploads the summarized transcription back to the S3 bucket. So I think that's where we're at. The question is, what do we need to add to this thing beyond those two functions? Do we need another function to do something?
We've got the transcribe going on, but we need something to take that information from that transcription and turn it into something else. So, in the last stream that we did, one of the thoughts that I had was, what if we can tie this into what if there's a system that parses this, determines what those action items would be, and then maybe feeds it into a Google Calendar of sorts. So now they become maybe calendar invites or events or even tasks as follow-ups. We can go in so many different directions now that we have this transcription working, right?
Right.
Heck, I would love to just be able to speak into existence my architecture diagram for and I think you can kind of do that today. Like if you spoke to, let's say, ChatGPT and said, build me a mermaid chart that does X, Y, and Z and has these capabilities, it would really infer what you're trying to do and give you that mermaid chart. It wouldn't be 100% correct. You'd still need to adjust it somehow, and you'd pop it into, I don't know, some mermaid editor, and then it could become something. But my thinking is, like, for someone like me who builds a lot of architectures, that would be really powerful. So how about that? Like, what if we actually said, I want to design something like a transit gateway solution that attaches to multiple VPCs, give me an architecture. How would we take what we have and do that today?
Okay. Well, we'd still need the transcription layer.
Right.
But the transcribe processor that we've built has a specific prompt that's, aimed at, you are a transcript analyst. Please summarize this transcript. And I think what we would actually want is a different function, or maybe just a different prompt that can build this mermaid diagram you're talking about.
So now that makes me wonder, like, what if we had and Kat's got something to say too, that Cloud ChatGPT mermaid chart as a part of design docs before code gen makes a big difference. Oh, I 100% agree. I really agree with that.
Before we try to build this, I don't know what a mermaid chart is, so maybe we could start there.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Okay.
No.
You know
This is all about the learning process, right? You used a term that I'm not familiar with, and I'm guessing some people who are watching are also not familiar with it. If you're all familiar with it, then I'm just the dum-dum. But
no, you know what? I'm bad. I tend to assume that because we've spent a lot of time doing a lot of different architectures over our careers, that you probably have encountered it at some point in time. And so a mermaid chart is, at its core, something that just has a bunch of boxes that connect to each other, kind of like a flow chart, if you will.
Okay.
So let me just close off some of these screens, and we could just like walk through the generation of one. So if you recall, like probably on our very first stream, we made a flow chart of sorts.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what we would be doing with a mermaid chart, except it really gives you both the visual as well as the code that you could probably take and import into a variety of different systems. It's almost like its own standard, if you will. And oh, did I sign in yet? Is it going to ask me to sign in? All right, that's a mermaid chart right there.
Okay.
Yeah, just a flow chart. We can come in here and modify anything we want. And I think there's like something like specifically key specific around like these arrows, where each one of these, you see that like the letter A is tied to this section here, and it tells us like what it's doing. YouTube starter guide, it's got a YouTube icon. We could do almost anything with this if we wanted to. But I wonder if, there's a mermaid AI.
Of course there is.
I wonder if I have an account. I can't remember if I created one or not. Oh, I did. I guess I did. Create new. Okay, this is kind of cheating if I do this.
Oh, you need. I think you might need a professional level.
Oh no.
Are you maxed out on diagrams? Maybe if you delete one.
Yeah, they're all the same though, so I need to delete them all. So let's create a new diagram. And then we could just call it whatever we want. You know what? We're gonna use some ChatGPT assistance only because I want it to give me the format of an AI, like a transit gateway and VPC attachment setup. And I kind of want to try like 04 Mini at the moment because I have not tested it out at all.
Okay, let's do it.
What's interesting is 04 Mini and 03 launched yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah, and I was meaning to give it a shot, and I just didn't have any time. All right, ChatGPT, hello. Help me generate a mermaid chart that connects multiple VPCs and VPN endpoints to AWS Transit Gateway. And there's even the search function.
Okay, so when you say mermaid chart, the key thing is that it prints out, it's a file format that you can then have some other utility create a diagram based on that.
Right, exactly. So if I took this right now and I went into that instance of mermaid that I had open, wherever it's hiding. Where did I throw that one? It's like hiding. Okay, it's behind. I'll have to reshare my screen again.
That said that she copied a bunch of mermaid docs to a custom ChatGPT project, the technical writing system prompt. Interesting.
Interesting.
I think that's
Kat is definitely going to be one of our guests at some point, whenever she's ready for it. I don't want to impose, but Kat, we'd always love to have folks on, especially folks. Oh, run diagram repair.
I think when you pasted it in, you deleted the config section.
Oh, did I?
You can like undo a few.
I must have done something here. Let's see what the run diagram repair does. Well, I fixed it. It's just the formatting. Yeah, I must have had some misaligned formatting.
Oh God, is this one of those tabs and spaces things? Because I'm gonna freaking lose my mind.
So what's really cool is I can't really modify this. What I'd love to be able to do is just like swing this around. But anyways, what's really cool is I want to be able to speak this into existence, and yeah, of course, Kat, we know you are. I know. I was just like, I was playing. I know you'd always show up whenever we ask. The real cool thing about it is, like, if I wanted to develop some real solution architecture work and be able to just speak it into existence, that would be cool. That would be amazing.
So I think that would be amazing. But what would be even cooler is if you could leverage the MCP servers that are being developed for AWS and others that include best practices and documentation. So you could say, I want to build this diagram that has these components in it, and please use the best practices based off of, the well-architected framework from AWS. And you could do that today with Claude, just not the speaking part.
So can you maybe give us some background on the MCP servers that AWS is offering? Did you get an opportunity to dig into that at any point?
Yeah, I did a little bit. I actually got one running in Claude, so maybe I can.
Oh yeah. I'll stop sharing. I'll let you do your thing. Yeah.
Yes, I am a human. Look at me.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
irony in the fact that it's asking. All right, so I went through the process of adding some MCP servers to my Claude desktop. And I think we struggled with that a little bit. The way you do that is you go into settings and it's under developer, and you have to edit the config in here. And of course that opened off screen, but this is the current config that I have. So inside the config is MCP servers, and I have two servers. I have one from AWS Labs, and then I have one that is the file system MCP server that in theory is able to create and alter files in the locations that you allow it to. The thing that was unclear last time and now has really clarified for me is when you're running an MCP server, you're not running your client and then reaching out to something remotely. The way that these MCP servers work is it's actually using, this one's using UVX, which is like I think a Python thing. It is spinning up a Python instance of this MCP server locally, and that's what Claude is connecting to. And the same thing with this file system one. So to get each of these working, I first had to make sure I had UVX and NPX installed on my local system. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to start the server up and have Claude talk to it. So that was like a big major step that was kind of unclear in the docs, but like I didn't have UVX installed, so I had to go get that installed, and I didn't have NPX installed either, so I had to go find that and install it. And of course, I'm on Windows, so everything is like 6 times harder.
I think this is what I struggled with last week when we were trying to get the MCP server from Kong up and running, right? Yeah,
it's just like the documentation is getting better, but it is still making a lot of assumptions that you understand how this whole thing snaps together.
Yeah.
And since then, I've seen a lot of explainers pop up in YouTube and other places that are like, okay, here's what's actually happening. For people like me who I'm not a developer. Some of this is just like magic to me. But really, all an MCP server is just like a Python or a TypeScript server or a container that follows the MCP protocol. And you can run it locally. And that's what I'm doing with these two. So I have this AWS documentation one. So if I look at the I just clicked on this hammer. And the hammer is like, these are the tools that you have available to you from these MCP servers. A lot of these are the file system one. But read documentation is the tool from AWS, so you can ask for documentation directly from AWS. And there's also a recommend, so get content recommendations for an AWS recommendations page. So I could ask it like, what are the best practices for connecting multiple, if I could spell, VPCs together when I have 10 or more. And it may now go out and hit the AWS MCP server. I think you can tell it to for sure. But it could actually used it in the background. Oh yeah, it's saying transit gateway, right? Which is probably the correct answer if you have 10 VPCs. Can you provide documentation for connecting a VPC to a There we go. Okay, now it actually invoked it.
Interesting.
Because I think I must have used the right keywords for it to go, oh, okay, this means I should go search the AWS documentation. So it's running the read documentation for the MCP server, and it's going to fetch the documentation for me, and then it's going to compose the contents of that documentation into something, a summarization or something along those lines. So that's what it's doing right now.
So I do have to ask, I mean, are we limited to using Claude to be able to achieve this, or are there other
Not at all.
Okay.
So the latest version of VS Code also has support for MCP servers now.
Oh, interesting. We're getting fancy here.
This is not particularly fast. It might have been much faster for me to just go read the docs myself. But the thing is, it's actually following a bunch of links to get additional information from the initial ask. So it's not just looking up the docs for Transit Gateway, it's looking up the docs for route tables and VPCs and all the other components that you would need to investigate to figure out how you would attach a VPC to a Transit Gateway. While that's running, I haven't actually tried this, but I think all you have to do is go in here and type in MCP. Yeah, here we go. So I'm in VS Code. I hit F1 and typed in MCP, and that takes me immediately to a list of MCP servers. And this one actually gives me a little more than Claude did. Claude was like, edit this JSON file. Good luck. This one's a little more, it's helping me. It says, okay, you could do a manual install. You could use a remote HTTP server if you had one of those, or you could use one of these different package types. So if I had a package name here, I could pop it in and I could install that MCP server. We would just need to find the package that corresponds to it. And I think there's like an mcpservers.org. Yeah, there it is. No, you don't need about that. Here's something that's wild. I was doing time comparisons between fetching from a CPU register versus main memory, RAM. And the difference is, if it took 1 second to get something from a register, it would take 8.3 minutes to get it from memory. That's the difference in speed.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Now we think of it at a different time scale. It's actually sub 1 nanosecond to get it out of a register, which is a billionth of a second, and it's 500 nanoseconds to get it out of memory. So yeah, that is faster. But if you're comparing the two in terms of how long the CPU is waiting, like it is waiting way longer to get something out of memory. Anyway,
so
I just thought that was interesting.
So we're talking about memory registers. Interesting.
These are registers that are on the CPU die directly. I would like. Is there a search in here? How does one search?
I don't know. I think Control F.
Cloud service. I want to see if there's one for Azure, because I'm a Microsoft MVP. I feel like I need to represent. Yeah, I don't see it. Azure MCP server. Oh, yeah, here we go. Introducing the Azure MCP server. All right. It's open source on GitHub. How do I install? Currently supported tools. Getting started. Node.js. VS Code. Okay. Open VS Code. One-click install. Oh, I could simply click on the install MCP server. Shall I?
I think you should.
All right.
Does it have to like hook into your Azure account at all, or no? Probably.
All right, so it just added it to my user settings. So what else do I have to do? Test it. Switch to agent mode in Copilot. Okay. Yeah, I imagine. All right, so let's pull up the Copilot chat. And I need to change this from edit mode to agent mode. No, I don't want to take a survey. Sure. All right, and if I click on here, yep, now I have all these tools that are available to chat. And so this is what it installed, is all these different tools. And what it suggests, list my Azure storage containers. Well, I don't know if I have any. List my Azure resource. Oh, see, now it's prompting me for a sign-in, which makes sense.
I love that. It just calls right back to your Azure or your.
It's a pretty impressive way that they've already melded all these different things together. There we go. Okay. So it asked for permission the whole way, but it created the CLI command that I would want to use. And then, yeah, it just produced the full list of all of my ridiculous resource groups. And so many of them begin with burrito. I know there's no tacos in here, but that's because I think I destroyed those since my last demo. Oh, no, there's one. At number 18. Tacos.
Yes. Is there a backstory to using burritos versus tacos?
I started using tacos as an example of declarative versus imperative code. So if I wanted to construct a taco, an imperative way would be giving you every step and the ingredient for each step. And a declarative way would just be like, I want a taco with these ingredients. And your application would assemble the taco for you. It was a fun way to sort of explain the difference between the two approaches. And then I ended up using it for a bunch of other stuff in my Terraform training stuff. And people really latched onto the taco thing. And I was like, well, I mean, Terraform tacos, why not? Let's just keep going with that. So I ended up, it's an easy thing to reach out to. And then I expanded that to burritos and tostadas and sopes and all kinds of other delicious Mexican food. So this was cool. The fact that you could that quickly just, and So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Visual Studio Code experience for installing an MCP server was so much easier. That was like click, 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 done.
Yeah,
versus adding it to the Claude desktop. That was a much more manual procedure. Now, part of it might be I've already fulfilled the requirements by setting up the stuff in Claude, so I didn't have to go back and install NPX because I already had it. But no, that user experience was really cool, and now I just have it installed, which is dangerous.
So what do you think we could do with this beyond being able to just query for like various resources in Azure? Who would this be useful to?
Well, I think part of it would be if we pull up the conversation again and look at the tools, it kind of lists out all the different things that it could do. Check pre-deploy, get recommended service configuration, diagnose resource. So I guess if you had an issue with a particular resource, you could get it to kind of give you some troubleshooting. So some of these are just like really basic CLI commands, but what's this? Query learn. What is that? What is the Azure Learn tool? See if it tells me. Oh, well, now it's just going to go get best practices for me.
Regurgitation of everything. It's just going to go read, which you can just go jump to the docs and read yourself.
But this tells me what I can do here. You can manage your configuration. Mm-hmm. There are some advanced things. You can query and analyze. But yeah, it just allows you to use natural language to interact with your Azure subscriptions, which I could see that being pretty useful if you have a lot of stuff in your Azure subscriptions.
Yeah.
And you know what you want to look for, and you find the portal a real pain in the tuchus. Also, I didn't have to go over to the portal to do this, so I could just run it from VS Code without stepping outside of the flow that I might be currently in. So
this makes me wonder, this has read access to whatever's inside of your Azure tenant or environment. Do you have the ability to create resources? Like if you wanted to create an AKS cluster. Sorry, I've gone down the Kubernetes direction.
let's do something that doesn't require nearly as much time. Create an Azure resource group in East US 2 named Burrito Monster and add tags for a project and department. All right, so let's see what it comes up with, because it doesn't look like it's okay. It wants to follow best practices first. So it is leveraging the MCP server, and it's getting best practices for how you would create it. And then it's saying, yeah, I'll create this thing for you.
Oh, wow.
Now, did it actually run that command? It did not. It kind of stopped there.
So is it supposed to reflect that on the terminal that you're using right now, or did it do something on the back end perhaps?
No, I'm checking it. We have this Copilot terminal, and that's the one that it opened to list out the various resource groups. But yeah, I think it kind of froze.
Oh.
I don't know if the agent ran out of juice. I mean, this would totally work. If I ran that command in the terminal right now, it would create, with the Azure CLI, it would create that. So it's leveraging my credentials, which is why it had me sign in. So whatever permissions I have are the permissions that the agent has, but it should prompt me before it runs any given command. Are you frozen?
Did you get stuck somewhere?
It says, no, I'm not frozen. Are you sure, though? Because it seemed like you were. All right, we'll try running that again and see what it does. It's going to run the best practices again. What I love about this and all the technology that we experiment with is how much it is like kind of broken still.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting there. Look, we can get to a point where it always self improves, and then, the next day we come back to it and it becomes significantly better and doesn't like crap out on us like it did just now, or just run out of juice.
Yeah. But I mean, I could run the command myself. It said, I'll provide both an Azure CLI command and a bicep template approach, and then it just kind of stopped.
Quick question: what is a bicep template?
Bicep. I don't know if that's going to work. Bicep?
Yeah.
How can I put this nicely? Bicep is like Microsoft's version of Terraform.
Wow. Okay.
I'm gonna get beat up for that.
Is it actually Terraform, or is it like something like CloudFormation?
Bicep. So, have you ever worked with Azure ARM templates?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Okay, so ARM templates are how you describe infrastructure in Azure. It's a JSON-based format, and it's because it's JSON, it's painful to work with, very error-prone. It has some functions built in, but it's not very easy to use. So what they decided to do was to build what they call a transpiler, which is Bicep. What it does is you can write a configuration in Bicep language, and then Bicep will convert that to an ARM template. So it doesn't actually go deploy the stuff directly necessarily. What it's doing is it's translating it to an ARM template that would now build the stuff, but you don't have to write your code in an ARM template in JSON. You can write it in Bicep. And so like this is a Bicep file, basically. If I can like give my chat a little more. Whew. There we go. So you can define parameters, you define resources and outputs. So feeling a little Terraform right there. And then you create a parameters file that supplies values to use that you've defined as parameters inside your Bicep. So, we defined a parameter called project tag value. And then down in here in the JSON, we're supplying a project tag value of Burrito Monster.
That's interesting.
That's all Bicep is it uses a lot of the same ideas as Terraform, but it's Microsoft's own language for describing infrastructure, and it is for Azure only. So you wouldn't use Bicep to provision things in Google Cloud, because that's not a thing we do.
Yeah, so I guess Terraform is the only answer across those clouds, or maybe Pulumi if Kat's still listening in.
There are many solutions that are cloud agnostic in that way, but yeah, Bicep is not one of them. Yeah, if I was going to pour my resources into learning another infrastructure as code tool, it would be probably like Pulumi, or possibly even Crossplane.
Yeah.
Oh, I just did well, the video isn't out yet. It's coming out on Tuesday, but I just did a sponsored video with Spacelift.
Okay.
No, Firefly. Sorry. I have a sponsored podcast coming out for Spacelift. That's why they're like both on my brain. I did a sponsored video for Firefly talking about their state of infrastructure as code report that just came out this week. And one of the things they found is, Terraform is still king of the hill. OpenTofu is seeing growth. CloudFormation is seeing a sharp decrease, and there is a decent amount of interest in both Pulumi and Crossplane as alternatives. But I mean, it's a lot easier to move from Terraform to OpenTofu since they're like almost exactly the same. There's a few like little tweaks that you have to make, but it's very minimal. Whereas if you were trying to move from Terraform to Pulumi, okay, that's that's a much more, I won't say difficult, but there's more to do, you know? NASA, Kat's been doing a bit of cross-plane at NASA. It is an effective tool, but I'd wait till V2. Interesting. Yeah, I tried out cross-plane. Oh, rewrite, not report. That makes sense. I tried out cross-plane probably about a year and a half ago, and the two things that struck me were, one, it requires a Kubernetes cluster to run in, which, okay, so I need to have that. And then it also required you to create a lot of custom resources. It was not as smooth of an experience. However, I really liked the reconciliation cycle, because it doesn't completely remove drift, but it certainly gives you a drift reconciliation first approach. So just like everything else in Kubernetes, it's running like a controller, basically, and that has a cycle that checks to see, okay, does the infrastructure still match what's described? No? Okay, what do I need to do to make that infrastructure match what's described? And it'll just keep doing that. So if you go and start changing tags or, EC2 sizes or whatever, it's going to revert your changes. You can set it so it won't, but, I think its default behavior at the time was to fix anything that strays from what's being described. And I like that. I like, forcing people to use the right tools.
Yeah, that's good to know. I think what we would probably want to do is have Kat come by and tell us a little bit about, the experience working with Crossplane and even Pulumi and, some of the work she's been doing in the Terraform space as well.
Yeah, totally.
Crossplane SaaS would be a good experience. I think that's what Upbound does. I think they offer Crossplane as a service, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways,
they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it's just running on their Kubernetes.
Yeah. It's running on someone's server, right?
Yeah, it's running somewhere. I would love to see Crossplane implemented with Nomad.
Ooh, that's interesting.
HashiCorp scheduling thing. That could be really interesting too. But anyway, we are almost at the end of the hour, and this was kind of a hodgepodge of an episode. So thanks everybody for sticking with us.
It's totally fine.
We just kind of went wherever the winds blew us, and I'm going to be honest, I'm so frazzled this week that this was about as good as I was going to get.
That's totally fine. I think it was really cool to just find out that we were able to go into VS Code and we could just simply launch an MCP server very quickly without having to mess around with system files or config files and whatnot.
Yeah.
So Kat, I'm going to tap into you soon, and we're going to figure out when we can bring you on, hopefully maybe next week, maybe the week after, and we'll go from there. But till then, everyone, have a good Friday, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Ned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.